This is Matt.
I'm Jamie.
And this is Pastry Chefs.
Pastry Chefs.
Wait. Shade Tree Chefs.
Shade Tree Chefs.
Shade Tree Chefs.
Yeah. Okay.
That shade
sounds
tree
better.
Chefs.
Yeah, that sounds better.
All right. First off, we want to thank everyone who has listened in so far.
And we're talking everyone.
Everyone. We're going to give a shout out to the analytics that we have received so far. As we would expect, and we're very thankful for, our home state of Wisconsin, along with the neighbor Illinois, Iowa, Nebraska, listeners in Colorado, Maryland, Alabama, Texas, Oregon, but to much of our surprise,
Europe.
Yeah,
We had some peoples in Europe. We had 3 listeners, I think Germany, Belgium, and Spain. So
most definitely.
I don't know how that got across the pond, but awesome.
We'll take it. We appreciate that you have learned the English language or have laughed at us as we talk silly talk because you don't understand us. I don't know.
For sure.
All right. So we had a lot of great comments on some of our Facebook posts on our page, Shade Tree Chefs.
Shade Tree Chefs.
Not to be confused with Pastry Chefs. I don't know if it's a thing.
That's probably a good group too.
Probably is. So today we decided to talk about the tool of the trade today is the charcoal chimney.
Charcoal chimney is awesome, necessary, and very useful. Why?
I remember even when I started out, but even before that, you would build a pyramid of charcoal. You would take lighter fluid and douse it. Hope you waited long enough and start it up.
Yeah, and there was a lot of times where you didn't wait long enough. And you douse it, you light it, you run back. You're like, all right, I'm ready.
And what'd you do then?
Then you dump the coals over. You make a little pile of what you want to do, and you think you're ready to go.
But if it was out, you ended up using more lighter fluid.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you didn't have any meat on the grill at that point.
For sure, yeah. You take your lighter fluid and you squirt it on the coals that are partially lit, and you hope for a bigger fire, and then you go from there.
Right. So the charcoal chimney really is great. There's many different brands, but you can use newspaper, right? There's plenty of different brands of lighter fire starters.
Yeah, they have cubes. I've seen I think branded as tumbleweeds. You look on like Amazon, you look on Target, you look on all the big box brand stores, and there's lots of options out there.
Yeah, and I don't know what's best for any of them. Either method works with it. It's just a nice way. Doing the pyramid method, you could be waiting 45 minutes, maybe longer.
Well, hopefully not that long, but yeah.
I mean, but these charcoal chimneys, it happens a lot quicker.
Yeah, and so they also came out with the pre-lit coals, or not the pre-lit coals, but the coals that already had the lighter fluid built into them.
The match light.
The match light, yeah.
Right, and then your burger had a giant taste of
lighter fluid. Yeah,
right, that's a no-no.
But it's super easy, right? You just buy the bag, you pour some coals, you throw a match on it, and you're good to go.
Right, I mean, if your favorite seasoning is lighter fluid, that is the way to go.
yeah, that's not my favorite seasoning.
Mine neither. So, good story about talking charcoal chimney. So I had gotten as a gift, it was more that barrel style smoker.
Okay.
Right. And so I set it up. I make my pyramid of coals and I light it and I wait patiently, but impatiently. And I go and I put it in the smoker. I stack everything up because as you have to, right? It's in layers, and I'm sitting there waiting, and my temperature just isn't getting anywhere. So I opened the little door. I said, my fire's gone out. So
yeah, because what's the first thing you think of? You need more fire.
I need more fire. Yeah. So I did as we did then, and I went and I squirted a bunch of lighter fluid in, right? A few moments later, I grab a match or a lighter. I don't recall what it was. Stick it in there, and I ignite it, to which then the top blew off probably a good 3 feet. I actually felt the concussion from this explosion.
Oh my god! And that was before videos
Yeah.
where you could put it on YouTube.
It would have been
and-
great. I mean, I had my leg hair was singed.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure that smelled really nice.
Yeah. So, lighter fluid is not a thing anymore. You do not need it if you have a charcoal chimney.
Lighter fluid, bad. Chimney, awesome.
All right. So, if anyone has seen, we're talking, was it Saturday, March 5th? We did get together. We have a beautiful day here in Wisconsin. It's 50-some degrees.
Yeah, it was upper 50s today. I think it's the what do they call it? Like the fake spring, where you got your first taste of spring, and the first thing you think
And
of.
we'll get
you're
another
gonna-
snowstorm because
We'll
it's
get
Wisconsin.
another. Yeah. You look at the weather forecast, and I think in a couple days we're gonna get some snow again. But you take advantage of the day. You go out there, and what do?
We grilled.
We grilled because
So-
of course.
I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, you get that first nice day. Another Facebook question: how do you deal with the elements?
Yeah.
Right? It's easy. You just wait till it's nice out.
Yeah.
Which here in Wisconsin, you're going to be grilling 5-6 weeks of the year.
Yeah, if you're just looking for perfect weather, of course.
Perfect weather.
Otherwise, you're talking rain, snow, sleet, etc.
We'll get into that at a different time of some of the ways to overcome some of the weather-related issues: wind, snow, cold.
And it is very dark out this time of year, so it's actually starting to get light out or stay light out longer, and it's really nice.
And I tell you what, when you get home from work and it gets dark at 5, you don't get home till 4:30. By the time you rest your meat, get everything prepped, your coals started, it's already dark. I mean that brings its own challenges. What you think is done cut of meat, until you get it inside and get into it, you really don't know how well it is done.
Another tool that's awesome besides a chimney, I think, is a headlight, or you put it on your head, you got your little headlight, you look like a miner, you're ready to go down into the caves and
Right.
break some rocks. But no, you put the headlight on, you can see what you're cooking.
I used to
So
have a
it's-
little gazebo, and I had a Ryobi light, so battery powered, and there was just a nice little area I was able to hang it from. Still not the same as interior light. You still
No.
could be fooled by it.
Right. Yeah, because it's not indirect. It's very pointed, and you got to point it to where you're looking. So yeah, you definitely have some shadows and stuff to contend with.
But getting back to our time tonight of you inviting me and the old lady over for some steaks.
The old
so
lady.
we had a little bit of contention between us.
Right. You had your way of making a steak, and I had my way that I've been doing for the past couple of years.
All right, so let's have you describe your way of cooking a steak.
Sure. So I don't know where I saw it. I don't know where I got the idea from. Probably Facebook, probably social media at some point. But reverse searing. So that's the biggest thing for me is, yeah, you're still going to sear it. You still got to get those grill marks, but you spend more time putting the steaks off sides or off to the side of the actual coals. So it allows. So what we did was we put the steaks off to the side, let them sit there for a good 10 minutes, let them warm up, and then once that 10 minutes is over, then you put them on direct heat and you do the traditional, depending on how you like it, 2 to 5 minutes each side. Pull them off to the side and they're good to go.
And I will say, we sat there and you're like, we're going to set them off indirect heat for 10 minutes. These are 1/4-inch steaks, and we're going. He's like, I'm going to put them over the coals then for X period of time on each side. And I'm sitting there in my head, and I believe I was pretty audible of like, are you crazy? These things, we're going to have beef jerky when this is done.
And I factored that in because we put vegetables on before, so the coals themselves were dying down just a little bit. So we're not talking. It wasn't 600-700 degrees on there. It's not high heat.
Right,
You had
right.
a good medium high heat, so we didn't really have to worry about that.
See, now, and they turned out fabulous. They did. I will admit.
It's tried and true. I mean, if you're gonna, again, we talked about it earlier, but if you have something, you stick with it. But there's always maybe a better way to do it or a different way to do it.
I think the biggest issue was you dealing with me telling you, no, we need to flip these. We need to get these off the grill.
I don't know. Yeah,
they
I
are
don't know
overcooked.
How many times did you tell me? Yeah, I think they're ready. I think they're ready. No, no, patience.
The amount of times I wanted to either punch you
How do you like your steak?
I like my steak, medium rare, medium.
Medium rare. Okay. Yeah, I'm like a medium. It's obviously you want some of that pink in there. You want to see some of the blood in there. Um, Anything more than medium well is too far. Then you're talking just go have a burger. But
Right. This is now my style would be more of let's get it on. You put it direct heat, right? But
let's get it on. All right, I like that.
here's my issue, right? I'm going to set it off
Just
to
do
the
it.
side for 20 minutes, whatever time it is,
Sure.
10 minutes, and then we're going to put it over the heat. So it's like to me, I've cooked it to that medium potentially because indirect heat can still get you 300-400 degrees,
Sure.
right? Depending on how many coals, how you have everything opened. At that point, maybe not a beautiful looking steak, but a medium rare steak.
Sure.
See, to me, you were giving it that time to get to that point before you said, "Nah, we're gonna throw it over that hot 400 or 500 degree flame for X period of time." For me, it's get it over it, right? If I want to do, if anything, I'm gonna sear it first and set it off. Why? Because it's to me, it's more controlled. I'm gonna throw it on there for a minute or two. I'm gonna get that sear, and then I'm gonna take it off to the more controlled area.
Yeah, and that's more of a traditional sear, I believe, right?
Right.
Instead of the reverse sear, where you're cooking it off to the side for a while, like I said, and then searing it at the end. But
I mean, what you did worked, but for me, I think and it worked.
would you try it my way yourself again, or would you go back to what you're
Well,
used
I mean,
to?
with meat prices right now, I'm probably going to stick with what has worked,
No,
and wait for you to. I'll wait to come over and yell at you for the overcooked steak because you decided to let it sit
Yeah, 'cause
indirect for 20 minutes
mess
before
it
you
up-
started to sear it and say, "Well, indirect's the way to go."
For sure. If I mess it up, then okay, I'm out. X amount of dollars for the meat.
And I gained so many years of giving you crap for overcooking those steaks.
For sure. And again, you can just order Grubhub or DoorDash and have something else
Right.
delivered.
Maybe McDonald's will start
McDonald's.
ordering steaks.
You can't mess that up. No, it's definitely a great way to make a steak, in my opinion. I like doing it because it takes the guesswork out of it. You time it out. Everything's timing for me with the steaks.
To me, though, you still, I mean, with everything, you're right? You still have that trial area. You have to figure it out,
Sure.
And for me, that style is a lot more trial and error because you're counting on the indirect to get you to a certain point before you put it on, and you were so set and in the time period you were going to allow them when you went direct to get that sear, and that's kind of where I had the issue.
Yep.
If I do it hot and heavy first, put it off to the side, a little more in control,
Sure.
but it works. So
yeah.
I guess that's all in the eye of the beholder.
Steaks, I time everything out nowadays. Timing, and again, thermometer. Get a good thermometer. That's another tool that I like to use. Obviously, maybe you used to use eyesight. Does it look good? Maybe feel. Pick up the steak, squeeze it. I forget
Right?
that.
They tell you, squeeze a fist at X amount, and that's your doneness.
Yeah, and you could use. I use timing for that. You could use a thermometer for steaks. I don't. I just do timing. I know the method. I've been using the method for a long time now, and it always turns out better than a steak restaurant steak. So why mess it up? Why change that?
I'm gonna have to ask your family if it's been that true the whole time, or if it's more
can-
of a
You can
more
ask them.
recent thing.
You can ask them, and yeah, there's been mistakes. I've not blown myself up like you,
Who hasn't?
but
I mean, let's face it. You deal with charcoal. You're dealing with variables you can't count on. I mean, we could time how long we have it in the chimney, how long we let the grill heat up, and you're still going to have those variables or your hot spots.
how long do you keep it in the chimney?
Sometimes not long enough.
Okay,
To be honest with you.
that's another one. You want to eat dinner, and you're like you put
you-
the cube underneath there. You light it up. You wait 2 minutes. You're like, all right, good enough. And
Charcoal-
and you pour it.
Charcoal is the biggest variable there is when cooking with it because you're going to get your hot spots. I've waited, and depends how long of a cook you need. I've poured it way too early. I've not put enough coals. I've let it burn too long before dumping it, but generally you start seeing those top coals start ashing over.
Do you use wood chunks or anything with like quicker burns like steaks or
Yeah,
burgers?
you know what? I like doing that once in a while because
Okay.
although it's a quicker burn, it still adds that little bit of extra flavor. It's at the same way it's taking that the person that doesn't like a propane grill because they like the charcoal flavor,
Sure.
right? I think you can up that charcoal flavor a little bit by adding a small chunk or a few wood chips to that burn. Sure, it's not like cooking some ribs or brisket where you have you're counting more on the wood, but can still add that nice flavor profile, even if it's just minimal.
Yeah, and there's different types of wood to use. You got cherry, apple, mesquite, hickory.
Hickory, yeah.
Each one kind of goes with a different type of meat. And you don't want to. I like to use my fruit trees for almost everything.
You
just
get a little
because
more
it's-
subtle. Subtle. I mean,
It is.
cooking burgers, you want something powerful that would probably cut through with a little bit of time. You're probably looking mesquite,
Mesquite. Yeah.
maybe hickory. I mean, you do apple, cherry,
Sure.
any fruit tree. It's gonna give that milder flavor to it. I mean, honestly, I've cooked or smoked ribs, whatnot, and I've thrown tons of chunks of wood, big chunks, and
You can
you can't tell the difference.
You can always use too much too, and that's been a problem.
For me, though, when using a fruit wood, I haven't had that.
Right, with a fruit wood, it's a lot more forgiving. Now, if you're using like a hickory, mesquite, whatever, those type of woods, yeah, those get a little bit more pungent and adds a lot more flavor that you don't want. And that's what puts a lot of people off from smoking or grilling is that pungent taste.
Right, right.
So,
So as we mentioned, we got together and we grilled, and as we do, a lot of times we also drink beer. So what was the beer of choice today?
we went with a local brew. We got, what's that, Moon Man from
Moon Man from New
New
Glarus.
Glarus. Yep.
So those outside the state want it because they only produce it in Wisconsin. What was the popular beer? It's eluding me right now.
Their popular beer is Spotted Cow.
Spotted
Talked
Cow.
about that in, I believe, episode 1.
Spotted Cow, yes. I remember seeing an article where there was a bar in Pennsylvania that was shut down because they had keg of it on tap, and it is not licensed to be outside the state of Wisconsin.
Wow. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, that was
crazy.
a couple years ago.
crazy.
So, what is it you like to drink when you grill or barbecue or cook? What's the local beer you like? Obviously, we have a following that goes beyond our Milwaukee, Wisconsin location. So please go to our Facebook page, Shade Tree Chefs, not to be confused with
Pastry
chefs.
chefs. They
Right.
sound very close.
it's very
similar.
close, but we have nothing to do with making pastry.
No, and I think I could say pastry chefs a little bit faster than shade tree chefs.
I agree. It does roll off the tongue a little bit easier.
Yeah. Maybe we can make another podcast, pastry chefs.
We could, but the problem is we're already shade tree chefs, bringing the little knowledge we have to this podcast. We have even less knowledge of pastry.
We just talk about foods that we eat. Oh, it's a good
Right.
pastry. I like
It's
this
like-
pastry. This one
I
has
went to Dunkin' Donuts,
this one has fruit in it. This one doesn't.
All
But yeah, no. So awesome. Thank you guys for giving us tips and feedback on Facebook. We are out there. Go to Shade Tree Chefs.
Listen to the podcast.
Listen to the
through
podcast. It's on there. It's on Apple.
Spotify.
Apple
and
Podcasts,
probably-
Spotify.
Probably a few others we've never even heard of.
Yep. So we're out there. We're always looking for more tips, tricks, ideas, questions. Reach out to us. Send us an email. Our email address is out there. shadetreechefs@gmail.com.
All right.
But with that,
All right. With that, I am Matt,
and I'm Jamie,
and that is Jamie.
and that's Matt.
All right. Till next time,
Till next time,
grill on.
Shade Tree Chefs.
Shade Tree Chefs.